a lot worse. Now, I talked about this on CNN, how young men get radicalized by these algorithms, but it's deeper than that. It's due to a broader lack of socialization that we're seeing in America.
Because nothing that you are getting happy about seems to challenge capital or power. Have you thought about this for 2 seconds? Like, has anyone thought for a second, when he appeases his base, when he gets everyone super happy because they get their liberal tears or whatever, it's because he's attacking poor people or attacking vulnerable minorities, trans people. It's like, oh man, I voted for this. Yeah, now the like 12 women who were playing in like, you know, these professional sports, they can't do that anymore. One of his ministers has been coming under a lot of hatred, death threats, and more recently, fire bombings for having the audacity to say mean things about Charlie Kirk. What are the mean things, you might ask? She called him a racist. And she called him a transphobe. She said Charlie Kirk was a racist, and Charlie Kirk was a transphobe. And because of that, she has been the target of most of the right wing in the totality of the country. There has been a non-stop effort to try and get her to step down, to try and get her to no longer be a politician. She's also an Indigenous woman, so I'm sure there's some overlapping racism going on. You know, I'm not a huge fan of Wab Kinew, mostly because of his kind of, you know, both sidesism when it comes to Ukraine versus Palestine. But on this issue, he did the right thing in that he's like, I'm not going to make her step down. She had to apologize. And so that wasn't enough. She apologized, saying perhaps, and she didn't need to apologize, by the way. Charlie Kirk was a racist. Charlie Kirk was a transphobe. That, like, again, if Charlie Kirk was alive and you said, you know, you're racist, he might take offense to that because it's considered a bad thing. But like the words that came out of his mouth and the things he advocated for were racist and transphobic. I don't even think he'd be ashamed of being called transphobic. I mean, I think he's like, or sorry, I think he was like Matt Walsh. Like Matt Walsh loves being called a transphobe because he's an open transphobe. He's an open and proud bigot. And, you know, in the case of Charlie Kirk, he said trans people were a throbbing middle finger to God. So that's just his quote. All right. That's not me mocking him, just a quote. But that's the background on the politician who's being targeted right now. About
Minister Fontaine's repost regarding Charlie Kirk. You mentioned you would have a conversation with her. Have you been able to chat with the minister about it yet?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Okay. Can you speak to maybe what came out of that conversation for yourself with the minister?
Yeah, I expressed my concern about what she'd put on her story, and I asked her to apologize.
When did you become aware that she had shared that on her story?
I don't know, this morning.
Have you heard from any any kind of ambassadors or any of your American counterparts that expressed concern over her post?
No, I was concerned.
Do you have any concerns about the implications a post like this could have?
Honestly, boo. And it was also weird that, like, you know, he's a premier of a province in Canada. I don't know why he had to make a video after Charlie Kirk's passing to, you know, express solidarity with the family and all that kind of stuff. Like, what business do you have talking about an American podcaster as premier of a province in Canada? It's so weird. Canada also doubled down on how embarrassing of a spectacle we can be by giving Charlie Kirk a standing ovation in Parliament. Again, there's been this extreme effort on the behalf of the right in the US, but globally, to basically deify Charlie Kirk as a saint. Which, you know, if they want to do that, if you want to do that, if you want to sanctify a white supremacist, you do it. That's on you. I'm never going to do that. I'm always going to talk shit about what a horrible human being I thought he was. I still, yes, don't think that anyone should be killed in that manner. I don't advocate for, assassinating my, political enemies. Everyone has to, basically point out that that's not in any way, shape, or form what anyone, including people on the left, were advocating for. But I'm also not going to celebrate him as a person and erase his history of bigotry. I think that's weird. And the fact that the politician in here, an Indigenous woman, had to apologize for saying Charlie Kirk is a racist is wild, but it wasn't enough. After she apologized, she's still getting an inordinate amount of death threats, and now fire bombings. Vandalism and fires at the MLA's offices have been chilling effects on Indigenous women in politics. As Winnipeg police continue to investigate the fires and active vandalism at the constituency offices of 2 MLAs in recent weeks, some political science experts worry that incidents will deter Indigenous women from seeking public office over safety concerns. On Tuesday, the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, Families Minister Nahani Fontaine's constituency office in West Kildonan was hit by fire. The blaze came just 1 week after the office's windows were also smashed. The North End constituency office of the Housing Minister Bernadette Smith has been seen 4 fires since August. Winnipeg's Police Major Crimes Unit is investigating the blazes at both offices. Officials have not confirmed whether they believe the fires were intentionally set. Kelly Saunders, a political science and gender studies professor at Brandon University, fears the recent fires and vandalism at the office of Fontaine and Smith, the first 2 First Nation women cabinet members of Manitoba's history, could have a chilling effect on current and future representation in the legislature. And obviously, yeah, of course, it's a really scary time to be involved in politics in general, let alone to be an Indigenous woman. And this is 2 different Indigenous women, by the way, in the cabinet who are receiving violent acts, political violence enacted upon them. And there's basically mostly radio silence about this. Not a lot of people know about this, especially no one outside of Canada. And the fact that one of the women is being frequently targeted and now firebombed after, correlation does not equal causation, sure, but she has been the nonstop target online of a lot of people saying that she disrespected Charlie Kirk and that her words were violence and all this other kind of stuff. Like, the fascist side of the political aisle is doing, or trying to do anyway. They're not as good at it as maybe previous iterations of fascism have been, but they're trying to do this trick where on one end they'll tell you, we need to lower the temperature, all right? Everyone has to, come on, both sides. This is a both sides thing. The name calling is out of control. It's because you've been saying things like Nazi and fascist, and you use those kind of words and terms that people are doing all this kind of violence, all right? And then you need to look after that. And at the same time, these are people who use those terms all the time. I mean, at this point, there's endless compilation videos of hypocrisy, but that doesn't matter. The hypocrisy shit doesn't matter because they don't give 2 fucks about the hypocrisy of this all. I'm sure you've seen the one on Glenn Beck where he's like, it's because they were using words like Nazi and fascist. And then boom, here's the Glenn Beck show where he's calling Obama a Nazi and a fascist every other fucking show. Tim Pool, same thing, being like Gavin Newsom is calling for political violence because he said that Donald Trump is a fascist. And then all of a sudden it's like, Tim Pool, what do I do? A little quick Twitter search. Yeah, here you are calling Kamala Harris a fascist. Here you're calling Joe Biden a fascist. Here you're calling Joe Biden a fascist again. Now you're calling someone else a fascist. Not to mention all of the actual acts of real world political violence, on most part, are enacted by right-wingers. How many different attacks does there have to be before people actually start making that connection? You can go back all the way to the Quebec mosque shooting by someone who was radicalized heavily by watching online political commentary. He had visited Ben Shapiro's Twitter, I believe, 93 times the month before the shooting that he enacted. In addition to that, he had said when giving his testimony to the police that he genuinely was worried that Muslims were going to be attacking and killing people, and so he was trying to do a defensive measure by mass murdering a bunch of innocent people. Horrifying monster who consumed a lot of Ben Shapiro. And at the time, Ben Shapiro puts out a video that's called The Myth of the Radical Muslim Minority, in which he lies and spreads this idea that the vast majority of Muslims are trying to kill Western civilization or murder you. And obviously people who consume this kind of stuff 24/7, whether it was like Ben Shapiro, Tucker Carlson, or all those other pundits at the time, one of them eventually got radicalized enough that they decided to go and commit a horrifying act of violence. You can look towards the random shootings that take place in the United States, where the people are inspired directly from watching pundits. The mall shooting that was a predominantly targeting Black Americans, where the shooter was heavily consuming a lot of right-wing media, including Tim Pool's show. And this gets just downplayed instantly, being like, oh well, yeah, but just because like there was one screenshot of the alleged social media of the shooter who had watched an episode that had Nick Fuentes on it or something like that, that doesn't mean that he was a fan of mine. He hadn't hit the subscribe button, you can see in the photo, so we can tell that he's not actually a fan of mine. The Christchurch shooting in New Zealand, where the shooter had a massive manifesto talking about, you'll never believe this, the Great Replacement conspiracy theory. That was the whole thing. That person was also a very big fan of Rebel News over in Canada, specifically watching people like Lauren Southern, who was putting out a lot of videos on the Great Replacement conspiracy theory, which, if you didn't know this, is centered around the idea that, once again, huge surprise here. The Jews who control the world are trying to replace white demographics in European and Western civilization with immigrants in order to destroy those civilizations. That's where the entire conspiracy theory comes from. That same shooter donated money to various people in Rebel News, as well as Martin Selzner, I think it was his name, the leader of a far-right identitarian movement in Europe, who, surprise, surprise, Lauren Southern had collaborated a lot and made lots of videos with promoting. And so there's like endless amounts of these instances where it's like, hey, by the way, these are people who consume a lot of right-wing media, a lot of right-wing lies, and become heavily radicalized. Do we need to point out the level of stochastic terrorism that people like HARASSMENT, Libs of TikTok, Matt Walsh were promoting on a daily basis towards the queer community? This was happening so frequently that there were so many, like, you know, bomb threats being called into schools and the hospitals, death threats to doctors, to nurses, to teachers, to principals. This level of terrorism isn't reported on or talked about in the same way. You won't even usually hear the term terrorism. It's just like, oh, well, yeah, that was just like some radical extremists, nothing to do with us kind of thing. It's like, because you all give yourselves plausible deniability. Matt Walsh will never say something like, I want you to pick up the phone right now and call a bomb threat into the following place. I'm going to put that place on screen. He's never going to do that, all right? But he is going to say, by the way, I just want you to know that this hospital, here's their address, here's the contact lists, publicly available information. I'm not doxing anybody. They're mutilating children. Yeah, I'm going to tell you that they are cutting off the genitals of kids. And you think that if you say something like that, the people in your audience, some of them are going to be so aghast, so horrified, that they might actually do something about it. They might actually commit an act of violence. There might actually be some dehumanization that is getting to the point of violence. There was a woman who was an LGBTQ plus ally. She wasn't even queer herself. She had a pride flag in front of her store. She was shot and murdered. She was killed because of her refusal to take the pride flag down when some, again, far-right deranged bigot showed up with a gun and shot her dead. The shooting at Club Q is another really good example where, again, the shooter was a hateful bigot who hated LGBTQ plus people. He called them the F slur. This is all well documented. It was a hate crime. He walked in with a gun, killed 4 people, injured another, I think, 24 people. And right after that happened, was the right lowering the temperature? Or were they saying, hey, by the way, that's terrible, thoughts and prayers, maybe we shouldn't keep calling every single person who has a drag show a groomer, maybe we shouldn't call every single person who dresses up in drag a pedophile, maybe we shouldn't keep saying that people who are trans are inherently a danger to your kids, maybe we shouldn't say that because some people are actually killing and murdering other people because of the dehumanization we do. None of that. They doubled down right after that shooting. Tim Pool was saying things like, well, you held a grooming event. What did you think was going to happen? We told you, if you keep being pedophiles, someone's going to throw you in the wood chipper. That's what they were doing. They were accelerating in that shit. Like, I think Candace Owens ended up putting something out like, I'm supposed to believe that if we don't accept, doctors mutilating children and cutting off their penises, then, the mass shootings won't stop or something like that. Like, none of them were offering thoughts and prayers. None of them were toning things down. None of them were like, we need to realize that this political violence is getting out of control. The other side, all right, the other side is more than willing whenever something like this happens to be like, that's terrible, that's a tragedy, that's unfortunate, no one should be killed because of their political beliefs, etc., all that kind of stuff. But on the other end, when it is literally nonstop, this is why it's so dangerous for a person like John Fetterman to come along and be like, both sides, this is a both sides issue. Both sides need to turn the temperature down, because if they don't do that, what's going to happen? And that leads me to this horrifying story, and content warning here. This monster, an Andrew Tate and Charlie Kirk fan, just killed 2 women, murdered them, ran them over with his car. He was also a live streamer who had a decent following online, I believe something around 40,000 live followers. And in one of his live streams was saying that one of the women apparently was mocking Charlie Kirk's death, one of the victims, by the way, that he ended up murdering. In that live stream includes things like he wanted to extract vengeance from her because she'd accused him of sending her unsolicited pornography, resulted in a police report being filed. He goes on to poke fun at what is presumably Maria's mother's name, which is ethnic, talks about using a VPN and a burner phone to order them pizzas. His friend Evan encourages him to go watch the pizza delivery. He then says, hey, whatever, Maria sees the pizza guy come, better think of Charlie Kirk for making fun of his fucking death, stupid ass clown. Just remember that. Quote, she made fun of Charlie Kirk's death on TikTok on a repost. Maybe her mother should monitor her social media activity. The right has been silent on this. This is a act of violence. someone like I saw so many right wingers whenever this was posted, by the way, being like, this person wasn't a Charlie Kirk fan. There's no evidence of that. This person was an Andrew Tate fan, whatever. No, he was just a stalker. He's just a violent stalker who, you know, unfortunately did a tragedy, and that's all there is to it, you know. But that's the extent of it. Violent stalker does a tragedy, so you know, that's all there is. And it's like there's stream footage of him in a stream saying this kind of stuff. Teen charged with murder and hit and run that killed 2 friends on an e-bike. A 17-year-old boy has been charged with the murder in a hit and run crash that killed 2 friends while they were riding an e-bike in New Jersey. The crash occurred on Monday evening in Cranford when the Union County Prosecutor's Office said a black 2021 Jeep Compass truck struck 2 girls while they were riding their e-bikes. Now, yeah, there was obviously an element of stalking. There was obviously an element of an obsession here. And, you know, there is usually an overlap between these communities. It's no surprise that someone who follows, listens to, or ingests Andrew Tate's content would have horrifying views towards women.
Stalked them for months, made posts about Andrew Tate and Charlie Kirk, and live streamed himself talking about Charlie Kirk, and then allegedly rammed his Jeep into them while they were biking, and now both of them are dead. Now, he fled the scene and has now been charged. I want to break this all down because there are live stream clips I can play you. They found his Twitter, and I do want to put a trigger warning up front. This is a uniquely disturbing video. I mean, I was sickened while reading this story. Genuinely, this one is messed up. We've covered a lot of Epstein stuff on this channel, and we've covered a lot of really disturbing stories, but this one is awful. And the stuff that this kid was posting is a really unique insight. It's a microcosm of what a lot of young men are currently going through and facing. And this is something I've been talking about on CNN a lot lately. I've been talking about algorithms and young males. I understand this culture more than a lot of people just due to my age and due to the fact that I scroll through these algorithms. Now, I'm a normal dude, so I don't get radicalized by seeing this stuff, but the stuff does exist. There's a lot of hate on the internet. I'm sure you guys see it as well. This thread on Reddit from 10-minute ads reads, "A Tate and Kirk fan stalked and killed 2 teen girls. Why isn't the mainstream media or Democrats talking about this?" And we're going to go through this post. We're going to go through the evidence. There are videos of him live streaming immediately after and talking about Charlie Kirk. This is all very sickening, and
that part, like, it's just so fucked up that someone would commit this kind of an act of just, like, you know, horrifying, violent, like, you know, murder, just straight up murder, and then afterwards be like, all right, time to fucking live stream, time to make some content.
Disturbing. So let's start off with this article from the New York Post, just to lay the groundwork. New Jersey teen girls killed in quiet suburb by alleged stalker who ran them down in Jeep. Quote, "She made complaints and nothing was done." This article describes how one of the girls had tried to file a restraining order against the kid after making repeated complaints, and
wasn't listened
the
to.
police really didn't do anything or enact it. Obviously, they didn't enact it. 2 teenage girls were mowed down on Monday and killed in leafy Cranford, New Jersey, by a hit-and-run driver who had allegedly been stalking one of them. 2 17-year-old Cranford high school students, Maria Neotis and Isabella Salas, were riding on an e-bike together. This is like sickening. This is awful. Around 5:30 p.m. when a black 2021 Jeep with tinted windows rammed them, both girls died later at the hospital. A 17-year-old boy from Garwood, a small borough next to Cranford, was arrested near the crash scene. The article details how, quote, "She made complaints and nothing was done." Friend Tammy
Mike
Carbajal told
Mayor,
CBS
thank you.
2.
Appreciate it.
It's just a tragedy. It's just a tragedy. This brings me on to the broader thread. It says, recently you may have seen this clip going viral where a 17-year-old kid expresses his, quote, "sincerest condolences to the family of 2 girls who were the victims of senseless tragedy."
I mean, I think one of the first mistakes is reading the New York Post.
At this time.
This is obviously some sick psychopath stuff, but it gets a lot worse. Now, I talked about this on CNN, how young men get radicalized by these algorithms, but it's deeper than that. It's due to a broader lack of socialization that we're seeing in America and honestly in countries across the globe. Younger and younger generations are socializing less. You know, I always used to think it was dumb when my mom was like, your damn phone is going to ruin you someday. But no, for real, a lot of young people are being ruined by not just phones, but this broader culture of not socializing as much. People try to blame it on.
I know there's like a million different things that people point at. By the way, you always hear like, well, I think the problem is too much social media. No, it's the algorithms. No, it's the lack of grass. We need to be touching more grass and all that. I mean, all of the above for sure. I think like people need to understand the incentivization for most social media, because these are corporations that now not only prop up the majority of the U.S. economy. Like, I'm sorry, the AI bubble is so close. My God, 35% of the US economy is propped up on a fucking complete and utter lie. It's wild, and everyone can see it at this point, and they're like, hey, by the way, this is gonna be so much worse than the 2008 financial crisis, but keep on going. Just keep on doing it. Yep. Not a single one of these AI companies has been shown itself to make a profit. One of them, OpenAI, has to, by the way, in 2025, by the end of this year, which is coming up real soon, if they're unable to become profitable, then they have to pay back SoftBank $20 billion. Billion, not million, billion. $20 billion has to be paid out if they're unable to turn a profit, which as of now, they're not. So there's nothing to do there except just wait for that to go off the cliff. In addition to that, pouring hundreds of billions of dollars into these scalable operations, which aren't scalable properly. That's one of the biggest things, right? Like, it would be a golden time to do that, you know, the Big Short style, invest in this crash, because holy shit, it's just wild. But yeah, all these companies, they're bad. These tech companies are essentially built up and they control and manipulate our minds on a regular basis by incentivizing everybody to be as angry and incendiary as possible. That is true. And you might have noticed that it spills into the real world in your everyday conversations, where all of us are so dismissive. I'm guilty of this as well. Like, when someone shows you something, isn't your first instincts to start thinking about, like, why is this shit? And like, why can't we just love things anymore? Like that thing where someone will show you like, hey, check out this like little clip, and then you'll be like, kind of sucks. Wait, what sucks? Wait, why we're already talking about why it sucks? What? Like, people like absolutely loved that parody song that came out. I think it was this year or maybe it was last year. It feels like 20 years ago. But either one, the one that came out that was making fun of like 90s, Ace of Base style songs. Everyone loved it when it first came out. They're like, oh man, this is so on point. This is so amazing. And now, fast forward like less than a year later, people are posting videos of it. Like, this song literally ruined the internet. And they're like, what? No. We had fun. We all had fun. We laughed. We had fun. We can enjoy a thing and say that we enjoyed it. And now maybe it's cringe, but that's how this works, all right? What once was edgy or fun or good memes becomes cringe over time. That's how the whole system works. That's fine. But all of us do this. We do this for everything that comes out. You oftentimes see something that's totally inoffensive get posted, and then immediately people will be like, this fucking sucks, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, because we've got social media brain. We've got this incentivization thing where we will get more likes and more clicks and more shares if we get angrier stuff out there. So that's the driving factor behind so much social media negativity and all kind of stuff. But that's just one piece of the puzzle here, right? There's another piece of the puzzle being that, like, there are hundreds of millions of young boys who are using social media globally, and not all of them are turning into these fucking vile monsters, okay? The people who are seem to be oftentimes being radicalized in one way or another by people like Andrew Tate, by people who consume a lot of right-wing media, especially right-wing pundits and commentators who dehumanize women on a constant basis or make men feel like the cause of their problems are women. And this is like a similar strategy that is done by most of these fucking fascists internationally, by the way. Donald Trump is pleasing his base. You'll see people who often say things like, I voted for this. You'll see like an ICE agent, some like overweight white dude beating the fuck out of like a Mexican child. And they're like, yeah, I voted for this. This is my shit. Yeah, I voted for this. Well, he can appease all of you. Donald Trump can, because nothing that you are getting happy about seems to challenge capital or power. Have you thought about this for 2 seconds? Like, has anyone thought for a second, when he appeases his base, when he gets everyone super happy because they get their liberal tears or whatever, it's because he's attacking poor people or attacking vulnerable minorities, trans people. It's like, oh man, I voted for this. Yeah, now the like 12 women who were playing in like, you know, these professional sports, they can't do that anymore. Okay. How does that make the cost of groceries go down? I don't know. I voted for this. Hey, I really liked watching that ICE agent beat up that Mexican family. I voted for this. And I'm like, right, but does that make your heating bill cheaper? Does that give you a raise at rent or a job? Do you have a job? Does that give you health insurance? No, none of that. But you do get your tears. And that's what seems to matter more than anything now. People are so engineered on the right and the left, I'm sorry, but just in general, to just want to see the tears of the other side, to get the dunks. And then now Elon Musk has bought and completely changed Twitter, so the right are getting more dunks than ever. It's amazing. But the person who did that is the world's richest human, who doesn't want to have to give his money or share it with anybody. He wants to hoard it. They're all hoarders. It's a bunch of smaugs, evil-ass smaugs, running everything and getting everyone really, really mad at people without power. How good is it if people are more angry at fucking unhoused folk? Like, the fucking so many people on the streets. It's like goddamn zombies out there, bro. Have you seen that? Like, that's the way that Joe Rogan talks. That's the way the Fox News talks when they talk about people who have nothing. Nothing. They can't take things from you because they literally don't have a bed to sleep in. So why in the world would we spend energy and effort demonizing and attacking them? It doesn't get you anything. You're not going to get anything for it. If you demonize and attack billionaires, corporations, if you try to regulate them, if you break up their monopolies, if you redistribute their wealth, all of us get some. All of us get a little bit more. It could be a small percentage, but it's still better than nothing. But if you spend all day attacking people who live on the street and are addicted to drugs, you get nothing for it. And one day that could be you. You're only a missed rent payment away from that scenario. And being on the edge at all times on that precipice is what keeps everybody in check. I'd love to quit my job, but I'd lose my health insurance, so fuck it. I'm going to keep on doing bullshit day in, day out. All this garbage. It doesn't give a fucking thing to me. And then what? Trump can again do a press conference, repeat, Hegseth can be like, yes, America, we are preparing for war. And you know what our war is going to be? A military of no fatties, all right? No women. We can't have their menstrual cycles screwing up the military and what we plan to do. And we're at war right now. Who? The enemy within. That's what I say. Yes, that's right. We have to get rid of the enemy from within. That and Venezuelans. Yeah, guess what? We just blew up some more Venezuelans. Isn't that cool? Check this out. We blew up this boat. Yeah, we did it. That's your taxpayer dollars at work, killing Venezuelans. They were narco-terrorists. Don't think about it. They're always narco-terrorists, yeah. Narco-terrorists who apparently were going to distribute all these drugs, fentanyl, to the United States in this small little boat that apparently was capable of going 550 nautical miles, which is physically impossible. Just not a thing those boats are capable of doing. Like, come on. Let's think about this for 2 seconds. There are yachts that cannot make it from Venezuela to the shores of the United States. Yachts, gigantic yachts that would need to stop at some point to gas up because that's a long way to go. 550 nautical miles is. So a little teeny speedboat is not transporting fentanyl to the United States. I'm sorry, but that's cartoonishly silly to say that, to put it out there and get people real big mad. But then all of a sudden, I voted for this. I did. Well, you don't even have to kill poor Americans. I mean, you're doing that too, but like you can also kill poor Venezuelans. And then it's like, yeah, fuck them. All right, but let's never challenge power. Let's never challenge the elites. The elites get to run the show. They get to hoard all the wealth, keep everything, and just give y'all crumbs. And while doing that, the entire cycle continues because it's like, I'm really, really mad. What are you mad at? I guess women? Why? Because they take everything from men and like the world's upside down and like we're supposed to like be told that like all men are like monsters or something. I'm not sure, but actually it's the other way around because like men are the ones who are committing suicide in really high numbers. Men are the ones who are not going to university in high numbers. Men are the ones who are not graduating from university in high numbers. Men are the ones who are getting pushed out of the job market en force because again they're not getting the higher education need to get into higher positions. I think the whole thing is upside down. Right. It's not women doing all that, though. The things you just said, they're true. Those are real concerns that people should have. It's really, really sad, fucked up, and something we should address that men have very, very high rates of suicide, and they are more often more successful committing suicide than women. Men are not attending university in high numbers right now. They're also dropping out of university in high numbers right now. There's a lot of problems with men in education, and men are having a lot of trouble in the workforce. These are all true things. We should bring it up. But why are we not going to talk about a lot of other things that are causing this? It's not women. Women aren't doing this to men. This is not like, there's not a secret council of women or you know, some modern day Bene Gesserit of witches that have a coven that are capable of organizing all this behind the scenes and you know, making men stay oppressed and commit suicide in high numbers and all that kind of bullshit. That's nonsense. And you're not going to break free from the Matrix by taking Andrew Tate's online courses or Sneako's online courses or Jordan Peterson. We'll get to him later. Jordan Peterson and one of his books or any of this kind of bullshit that selling their cryptocurrency or other shit like that. That's going to get you more broke. You're going to be at least $20 more broke because you bought Jordan Peterson's fucking shitty ass book that taught you nothing except that he's a very confused, weird man that seems to have a lot of issues with wanting to fuck his own grandma. That's just what you're going to get. That's what you buy when you pay that. And now you don't have the $20 that you get spent on food. So you're in a worse off spot than you were prior to that moment in time. So yeah, that's not going to help you out. And all of them, they know that. It's why they push all this shit. It's why all these misogynists, the Andrew Tates, the Jordan Petersons, they're all doing that knowing full well that the majority of their consumers are not going to walk out of that experience becoming rich, powerful men. A few could, and they, in the Andrew Tate world, become part of whatever he calls his elite club where you pay like $8,000 a month to have him beat you up. It's just fucking weird ass shit. But either way, a few will, and they will be the ones they show off. They'll be the ones, of course, they're going to advertise this dude here. He was a nothing. He was a soy boy nerd ass cuck who was just fucking, getting made fun of. He was a virgin. Women didn't want to touch him. Now he's an alpha Chad who knows how to UFC fight. He makes tons of money on cryptocurrency. He owns 12 Bugattis. He's got all these Instagram models lining up for him. You want that, don't you? Every man wants that. This is all men should ever want. This is it. This is the future. This is what men need. And then, yeah, there's going to be a percentage of people watching this who are just like, maybe I do want that. Maybe I like that. Maybe that is what I want. And unfortunately, some of them, they do lead to acts of horrifying fucking violence. Like, this is the reality. Not all of them, but some of them will. Some of them will become obsessed, deranged monsters. Some of them will be stalkers. Some of them will not understand at the very basic level, because this is not taught by any of these fucks, consent. That word. Like, the idea of having someone that you're obsessed with means you do not consent to their boundaries. If you are stalking someone, if you are obsessing over someone, if you are talking and doing, he had 40,000 fans apparently in his live streams. If you've got a live stream show where you're talking shit about a woman that you're trying to have a relationship with and that you're obsessed with, and that you're just constantly like, yeah, fucking, she won't return my phone calls or anything like that. She doesn't have to. No one is obligated to owe anyone a relationship. And the same dudes, I wish you'd just think about this for 2 seconds. You wouldn't want that for yourself. You wouldn't want to have to be forced to do whatever someone else wanted to do with you simply because they liked you. Oh yeah, that's gotta be so hard having like women want you. Oh yeah, I bet that's real tough. Okay, fine. What if they're not women? What if they're men? Would you want that? Would you want if any guy just walking around was saying like, hey, you're mine, I like you, go on a date with me. If you don't, I'll make your life horrible. Wouldn't you be like, no, sorry, I'm not interested in you in that way or at all. This is scary. You're right. We're getting there. Yeah. So the same thing works both ways. There's nothing here. Like someone who is on the other side of something who doesn't want to go on dates with you or have a relationship with you. If you simply obsess on them, if you stalk them, if you start being like, if you think in your head that you are owed something, which is what all these fucking creeps teach them and teach the followers, the Andrew Tates, the Jordan Petersons, the Sneakos, all of these creeps are trying to teach men that they are owed something, right? And this goes right back into the whole incel ideology, as well as white supremacist ideology. There's a lot of overlap there. I know not all of the people I've been listing happen to be white, but that doesn't mean that they can't uphold white supremacist shit. But if they're putting out that idea for everyone to consume, that they're just like, hey, by the way, as a man, you have a birthright, and that birthright is being taken from us. And the problem is the very people taking that birthright could be women, could be the Jews, could be the gays. You can substitute it for whatever thing they want to, replace for the hated category of the week. But whatever it is, who's ever taking away our birthright right now, you were owed something. And that is the most fucked up bullshit. No, we're not. No one is. The fact that I'm lacking melanin in my skin doesn't give me a divine right to something. What are you talking about? Outside of sunburns, that's about the only thing that I have in terms of like, yeah, the Lord hath gifted me with something, all right, that I can't be in the sun for too long without having to put on some SPF 40. But outside of that, I'm not divinely promised anything. The fact that I was born a man doesn't mean that I'm owed shit by society, by women. Like, how can the very people, this is the weird paradox of it all, how can the Jordan Petersons of the world be like, oh, you clean your room, bucko, you pickle yourself up from your bootstraps, all this stuff, and simultaneously peddle this idea that society is taking things from you that you divinely were supposed to have. And this it's from feminism. Feminism has destroyed the paradigm. Men aren't really aware of how women are secretly actually controlling the gene pool, like, again, a bunch of Bene Gesserits, but this idea where it's just like, oh, have you heard of hypergamy? Yeah, so hypergamy is the science of the fact that throughout history, women have been selectively choosing their mates and have been controlling the genetic coding as a direct result of this. And that's why there are so many sub-5s, people who are below the 5 out of 10 on the hotness scale. They've been struggling for a long time because of the upside down that the whole society, like, again, this sounds like a really, really bad, like, Michael Crichton novel or something like that, but this is the way that this entire corner of the internet, the red pillars, the manosphere, the men's rights people, this is how they think about the world. And the thing that sucks and why they're so successful is because they are actually trying to address something that is real. Like, there are real valid concerns about the way men are treated in society that are no joke, and there is a lot of suffering going on. And this entire thing, a crisis of anxiety, of depression, of loneliness, all that is real. The high rates of suicide are real. The high rates of depression and anxiety that are skyrocketing out of control is real. The fact that more men than ever are not only not making it into university, but are dropping out of university at much higher rates than women is also real. These are real problems that are affecting men. And so the people who are peddling solutions makes things so much worse. That's the fucked up thing. So much worse to sit there and have a fucking Andrew Tate poison your mind with yeah, you're in the Matrix, bro. You got to break free. You got to take the red pill. Then you can become a UFC fighter, and then you can sell the crypto, and then you can sell humans. That's how I made my money. Human trafficking. That's the future. Like, god damn, this shit is toxic and poisonous, and these motherfuckers are getting rich off male suffering. That's the truth of it all. They are becoming so goddamn rich by making men worse and making men suffer more. They are ironic misandrists who peddle the idea of being, like, you know, powerful men, powerful shit. Did I miss the TYT part of this? That's all I've been talking about this entire time. TYT. I don't think I can play the guy's actual video because I'm pretty sure it is going to be banned content.
Of your father, winning a fight, losing a fight, finding out the woman you love had sex with someone else. And then it says, they cannot keep me in this cell forever. My enemy's lies are crumbling. This is your time to play catch up. Whatever situation you're in, I want to let you know one thing is certain. It's possible. This is not just normal motivational stuff. This was when Andrew Tate was rapping all of this in a broader battle.
But look at this. The 5 events that'll change every man's life. A friend betraying you. That'll happen. I'm sorry to say, this is part of life. Humans can be shitty. A friend will betray you. That doesn't mean that you should start a war on women. The death of your father. Also a thing that'll happen to everybody. And if they were a good person and they loved you and they were good to you, I'm very sorry, because that is one of the biggest tragedies you can go through in your life. But again, most likely, a woman didn't kill him. Like, she's not responsible. Winning a fight. I've lost the fights that I've been in. I've been in mostly defensive fights, and I have not picked fights because I wanted to prove how strong I was. I have been in fights because I was being fought against or trying to help a friend who was being beat up, and I don't think I won them. So I can't speak to number 3, but sounds fun, I guess, if you like hurting people. Number 4, losing a fight. Done a lot of that. It sucks. Getting punched sucks. Getting punched in the face fucking sucks. It's a very jarring feeling. Not great. The entire idea of the whole, Chuck Palahniuk, is that how you pronounce the last name? But the Fight Club shit where men really are now becoming men again by punching and beating the fuck out of each other. Look, if you want to engage yourself in sports, especially in a more healthy and controlled condition in which you might wear some protective gear and you might be engaged in something where two people, again, consent is key here, but consent to fighting each other. I have nothing against that. I enjoy watching boxing. I enjoy watching UFC. All that shit can be fun. But it's not something that you need to do in order to become a man or actualize as a man. That's wild. And I've never understood this sales pitch where it's like, yeah, you want to learn how to be a man? I do. There's so much I've been struggling with. All right, got to get your ass beat, and then you got to beat some ass, and one or the other. Hopefully you can win a fight and lose a fight. And so pay me $8,000 so I can beat the shit out of you. Finding out the woman you love had sex with someone else. Now, obviously, that sucks. Guess what? Women aren't a monolith. There's shitty women. There's really shitty women. Just like men aren't a monolith. My dudes, don't you hate hearing that thing where it's just like, well, hashtag not all men. Yeah, no shit. But you should be mad at the men who do fucked up shit, just like women should be mad at the women who do fucked up shit, just like people should be mad at the people who do fucked up shit, right? No, not every man is a rapist, but fuck every man who's raped. Not a hard thing to do, right? And yeah, if a woman is telling you she loves you and then cheats on you, she's a piece of shit. That doesn't mean that all women are like that. That means that woman happens to be a bad woman. We're not fucking, monoliths here. But all of this happens to people. All these things happen to people, and this is why they want to pull people in via the shit that is going to make them more angry and hatred towards women. And that people will be so surprised when it's like, yeah, these people are committing mass acts of violence. They're stalking people. Not only are they stalking, like this guy who murdered 2 women and said part of it was because they had made fun of Charlie Kirk's death, which is something I've been seeing a lot of, by the way. This attack on women specifically for like that guy who just got hired by Benny Johnson. He's a conservative influencer, Kung Min Lee. He had made a video very recently where he was talking about how women shouldn't have the right to vote. And it's because women have been basically talking about Charlie Kirk's death and all this other stuff. They've been mocking it. He doesn't have any data to back this up, but he has some theory, or at least a working theory, that the vast majority of women online have been mocking Charlie Kirk's death, or the majority of people who are mocking Charlie Kirk's death are women. I'm assuming this is something being peddled by a lot of the manosphere, incel, red pill community kind of shit, right? Obviously super, super fucked up. But that stuff is leading to real world violence. It's leading to people who are believing it, and it's leading to people who are propagating it. It's a lie, obviously. It's not based in reality. But if you are already filled with hate, and that hatred also combines with you stalking someone or having feelings for someone, and that feeling isn't reciprocated, well then yeah, we've got a disaster in waiting here, where again, an Andrew Tate and Charlie Kirk fan ended up murdering 2 people. And there's a reason why the right is completely silent on this. The right's also been doing this stuff where they've been saying like none of this is true. I'm not going to play the video, A, because I don't want to give this piece of shit more attention, but B, I think it's probably banned on Twitch. But you can go to this video, Charlie Kirk fan does the unthinkable, ruins his life. It has all the receipts. Because I saw a lot of right-wingers being like, there's no proof that he did this because he actually liked Charlie Kirk. There's no proof that he was a fan of Andrew Tate. There's no proof that he actually targeted those women specifically as anything other than being a stalker, okay? Maybe he was just a stalker weirdo, and that's it, right? Just like some incel murderer. And it's like, he streamed this shit. There are receipts online. They've been taken down, but other channels already have them and have captured them and put them in there. So if you, again, want to see the receipts, to see the proof for yourself, to know that, some radical soy lefty isn't just trying to lie to you, he says it in his own words, the exact quotes that I already read out. And yeah, it's an absolute horrifying nightmare in reality. But this is like down to the centerpiece of everything I've been trying to tell everybody. This is not a both sides issue, because the data is very clear on this. Even the data, like I know recently there was a study that came out where the Axios headline was like, left-wing violence climbs to 30-year high. I'm currently doing like a debunking breakdown of all that study says and then going into the details of it. And I can just tell you, the data in that study, even in that study, show that the overwhelming amount of terrorism attacks and violent political attacks is done and perpetrated by the right, at least in the modern era. And that same study says that left-wing attacks, while they have become more frequent, it's actually right-wing attacks that have just plummeted. That's what the study and the headlines in the Axios articles should have said. It should have been like, right-wing extremist violence is plunging right now. And that same study goes on to say they believe the reason is because Donald Trump is appeasing radical extremists. Which, I mean, read into that as you will. That's kind of a weird thing to put out there when it's the actual government that's putting it out there. But it's like, yeah, there's been a lot less, extreme right-wing attacks as a direct result of a lot of the things that they'd want to kill people for are actually being appeased by Donald Trump, sending his Gestapo into blue states to attack minorities that apparently all these people have been programmed to hate. So, good stuff. Keep on pushing that myth, John Fetterman.
So thank you so much to our patrons for making this show possible. We could not fund it without you. And if you want to join, please check out patreon.com/theserfs to unlock bonus episodes, uncensored content, and all the good stuff. Thanks to Anna Loves Riley, Addercap, Bobby Lasers, Cheryl Alvarez, Comrade Junkie, Doug Caddy, Everything Important, Hegbard Salim, Multimondi, Omni, Political Papi, Preston Kroll, Quiet One 85, Riley and Anna, Roller Dragon, Cernicus, Stellar Gwyn, Sebastian Demmel, Tigwick, and Words Greenwood.